Welcome back, everyone. Mr. Talbot. We're going to close out Europe today. We've already talked about kind of the overall economic and social stuff that was going on in the Middle Ages, and then a little bit in the Renaissance in our last couple of videos. Um, what we want to focus on in this one is what's going on in religion. We've kind of been talking about it as kind of a thing that's been going on around the outside, but we're going to see religion as a huge part of European history during this time. So if you're going to rewind the clock way back, around the year 30 CE or so, Christianity gets started with Jesus Christ and those stories. The thing that is going to affect European politics is really when this guy named Emperor Constantine over here to our right, he converts to Christianity in 312 AD or CE, meaning the same thing. But AD means year of our Lord, so with this being Christianity, sometimes we're going to see those dates quite often. So the one interesting thing, historians, they don't all agree that Constantine actually converted to Christianity, but he certainly is going to stop persecuting them, which had been the norm by the Romans for a long time, like including, capturing Jesus Christ. But those early Christians, they were kind of having to do their practice their religion in complete secrecy because it went against the state, because Christianity is monotheistic, believes in one God. A lot of these emperors are referring to themselves in godlike forms. So, yeah, there's some tension there. Over the next century or so, all those kind of Roman gods and gods that we learned about in mythology stuff, that paganism is going to kind of give way to Christianity. Emperor Theodosius, who will be the last emperor to rule both parts, what will become the Byzantine Empire and the Western Roman Empire, he makes Christianity the official religion in 380 CE. So that's kind of one of the, for Christians, one of the significant dates in their history, because the Roman Empire stretches over, Western Europe and Eastern Europe, and that part of the world is eventually going to go out and imperialize the heck out of the rest of the world and explore the heck out of the rest of the world, which will then spread Christianity with it. Politically, the Roman Catholic Church is not just focusing on the religion. They're getting very, very involved in politics. And, there's a debate, and it's going to kind of depend on which situation you're looking at. Sometimes you can say it's the cynical, they're doing it just for power and economics. Sometimes you're going to say, hey, they're just trying to spread their religion because they think that's what they're supposed to do and command it to go out and do. But they get highly involved in politics. Kings know they need to be loyal to the Pope, because if they're not loyal to the Pope, then the Pope can do several things. He can pretty much excommunicate them, which would be, from a spiritual standpoint, sending the king and all of the king's subjects, pretty much sending them to eternal damnation in hell. That's a big deal if you're a religious person. Additionally, since the Pope's got other kings that are loyal to him, those kings might go and invade you. And then so the same kind of thing is going to be going on there. So on a more within the kingdom level. So the the church, has the Pope at the top, but then the Pope kind of has, his bishops below. And so those bishops then would kind of be trying to influence what's going on within the kingdom. And if you weren't loyal to the bishop as a king or a feudal lord, then the bishop might refuse to do religious services, which if you're a serf, and many of them are very religious, then you're really mad at your lord for taking off the bishop. And so now you're going to hop back and you're going to uprise, and you're going to see some peasant revolts as a result of this. The other thing, the lines get really messy here as to, okay, where's the loyalty? Is it to the Pope? Is it to the king? Is it to the bishop? Because a lot of these people are related. The popes are going to be related to kings and lords. The bishops are a lot of times are like the brother of the Lord, because they couldn't inherit the title, because the title can only go to one of the sons. So then you politic your way into your other son, get into be a bishop or an abbot in a monastery or something. So you still have a lot of power. The other thing is the church is kind of the education center of Europe. There's not really independent learning going on. So the church is pretty much the only literate people in the community. So if you need some businessy thing, you're going to need to go to the church. If you want to do some learning, you probably need to go into a religious service. If you want to get something written, it's probably going to be done by a monk or another religious person. So a lot of those, maybe what would be more scientific sort of writing that we would see in a place like, Dar al-Islam, not really taking place in Western and Eastern Europe, because the church is the one that is trying to push their agenda, their beliefs. So the Catholic Church over time grows bigger and bigger. wealthier and wealthier, and eventually it's going to get some tension. And it has a lot of tension here in what's called the Great Schism. And schism basically means separation. So um, in the year 1054, and there have been tension leading up to it. So this is, in the right on the division between this is the early Middle Ages now turning into the High Middle Ages. So this kind of defining moment. The Western side is going to break off. They're centered at Rome. They'll be called the Roman Catholic Church. The Eastern Church, which will be centered at Constantinople, named after Emperor Constantine, who converted to Christianity. The Eastern Orthodox Church is what they'll be known as. So both still Christian, both still believing in the teachings of Jesus, but there's some differences on various kind of religious things that it's kind of a little bit too far into the weeds for us to dive right now. So they're going to develop and kind of do independent things with them. The Pope will be the leader of the Western Catholic Church, and kind of he's viewed as the representative of God on earth. Okay, and he's elected by cardinals. So if one schism was bad, now there's going to be another schism. This is about 300 years down the road, 250 give or take. And we get a thing called the Avignon Papacy. And Avignon's in southern France. And basically, we get a bit of a Pope fight. Things were getting messy and dangerous in northern Italy and in Rome. So there's, when we look at a map of Italy at the time, there's just tiny little pocket kingdom, city-state things going on, and they're feuding and they're fighting, and it's a mess, and the church is literally in the middle of it. So, plus the Italians are able to politic pretty well with the Pope, who's usually an Italian. So other parts of the Western Roman Catholic Church, they start to not like this. So they convince the Pope to move the papacy out of Rome, out of the Vatican City, and move to Avignon, France. And it'll be there for about 70 years. And they build this tremendous palace and all sorts of cool stuff. Well, the people back in Italy, they don't like this. They elect their own pope. So now you've got two popes. And then if two popes isn't good, they're going to get a third pope going in there to try and settle the dispute. It's a big, big mess. Now, eventually it's settled. Today, the Catholic Church only has one pope. The Western Schism is put back together. But all the division, all the corruption, it weakened and it's made the church look worse. And this is going to be something that kind of is brought up again when we get to the Protestant Reformation in a couple hundred years. Okay. And then the last thing we want to talk about, because it really now we're going to go international and all this, is the Crusades. And the Crusades have famous things like the Knights Templar and all sorts of stuff. So starting in the late 11th century, different popes are going to start calling for crusades to retake the Holy Land. Now, there's some debate if how much of this is about religion, how much of this is about getting control over a valuable economic territory, and how much of this is also going to be about trying to kind of get the Eastern Orthodox Church back in line. In addition to going to the Holy Land, places like Israel and Palestine and Syria, you're also going to be attacking and eventually pushing Muslims out of Spain. And then the Crusades are also going to kind of go and persecute a lot of non-Christians within Europe, people like Jewish people and other kind of sects that we'll see. And then you're going to see some Eastern Orthodoxy Crusaders end up pushing that into Russia, and that's still a huge religion in Russia today. When these Crusades take place, there gets to be some bad blood with the Muslims who they're attacking in the Holy Land, and they control the trade routes, so they're going to start shutting down some of the trade routes. So there's kind of two things with the Crusades. You've got these Europeans are going to be pushing into, this major trading center, seeing all these goods from India and from China. They want them. They're going to want to trade for them. And then the Muslims don't want to trade as much with the Europeans anymore because, there's bad blood. That kind of helps spark a little bit of the age of exploration and tension. Marco Polo is going to be going out while all this is going on too. So there's kind of a lot of things happening at the same time. He'll write his book that kind of tells about his travel. And that inspires more trade and more travel. Plus the Crusades, you literally had to build these supply lines and trade networks to get the Crusaders there and that. The division between the Roman Catholic Church in the West and the Eastern Orthodox Church really probably not helped by the fact that some Roman Catholic Crusaders, instead of going and trying to retake the Holy Land in Jerusalem, ended up sacking the city of Constantinople instead. That's going to kind of make that division permanent. Okay. And then one thing I like to point out the Crusades is they fail epically. And it really kind of highlighted how far ahead Dar al-Islam in Eastern